Greetings, everyone! I am Lunar Kitten Zero, and today we are going to check out a video by Bricky called Every Single Warhammer Faction Re-Explained. Before we even dive into this, a few things I want to say before we get going. One is, you may have noticed there's been a little bit of a change to my model here. After the last video, I felt so excited and I wanted to show my love to the Blood Angels. I started thinking, what could I do to do that? What could I put on my avatar to help me? And from that, Chibi Sanguinius was born, or Little Sandy as I call him. And I'm in love. I'm so happy I drew him, and he's so cute, adorable. So yes, when I cover these videos, I now have a little companion who will be joining me. I'm just excited. I'm just sanguineous, yay! But aside from that, I want to say thank you so much to everybody who has left comments on my previous video, telling me a lot of lore, a lot of Warhammer lore. I can say that and not slur my human speech. Yeah. You guys have told me so much. I will try to remember it, but I do have a goldfish brain, so I'm going to end up forgetting. So feel free to keep correcting me every time I get things wrong. Eventually it'll stick, I swear. A couple of things is, a lot of you have explained Slaanesh to me. I get now Slaanesh is not a girl, but is kind of like everything rolled into one. It's everything and nothing you really would want to show up and surprise you with. So, I get why artists draw Slaanesh as a girl. I'm probably going to continue to reference Slaanesh as a girl, because I do lean towards that artwork, because that artwork's just amazing. But yeah, I get it now. I'm appreciative that you guys pointed that out, because I was a little confused on that. Also, I am a ditz who forgot to finish watching the end of that video on camera. I did finish Bricky's video off camera where he lists books that are good for beginners. I will not be diving into books right now. That hopefully will be down the line. I right now just kind of want to work my way through the lore and see what catches my attention, what I really want to pursue. Like, I obviously am going to want to learn a lot about the Blood Angels, but I also want to learn a lot about the Nuns with Guns and a couple of factions that my friends are into, such as the Space Wolves. I am sorry again to my friend. I knew it was something wolves. And the Night Lords, which, see, I said Night Lords this time and not Dark Templar. I don't know why I default to Dark Templar. I call everything Dark Templar, and I don't know why. So yeah, I will just be kind of going through. If anything I don't click with or works well, I might not do a video on, but I will at least in another video explain if I did skip anything, if it was just not something that caught my interest. But so far, everything I've come across, I'm really interested in, so this is all good for me. It's like I get plenty of books, well, lore to read. I want to say books, but I'm not actually going to go and grab the books just yet. But yes, I have a list of 40k stuff that I will be working through. I have a friend helping me organize all this out because I am a goldfish brain and I will get overwhelmed way too quick. So he has been helping me out. Shout out to him. Thank you so much, because I would be just unsure where to begin. So I'm going to put my little notebook away, because yes, I had a little notebook of things I wanted to make sure to talk to you guys about before we hit this video. And again, I just want to say thank you guys so much. I'm really appreciating your comments. You're helping me understand this lore. I'm learning a lot more about how things work. For some reason, I had confused the Old Ones and the Chaos Gods as one thing, not two separate things. So I was kind of confused on when the Star Gods killed the Old Ones, I thought that killed Korn, the Z Dude, and Rotman. No, that was the other Old Ones, which I was confused on. But anyways, enough of me rambling. I'm ready to get into this and learn about these factions, because that's where some of the really fun stuff starts coming out. So without further ado, we're going to dive right into this. Also, for those who might have missed my last video, when I move my mouse or hit any key on my keyboard, that pops up on the screen. It's not you, it's me. And thank you to the person who told me the shortcuts on the keyboard. Problem is, I forgot to write them down and I can't remember them now, other than spacebar pause. So I will still use my mouse. It's just quicker for me. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and dive right on in.
In the kind brightness of the far past, there was no war. Our galaxy was, for a long time, fairly empty and quiet. The first known species to appear during this time are known only as the Old Ones.
Okay, this was the Old Ones.
Entities that traveled across the galaxy with ease and seeded life through the stars. Shortly thereafter, a new species began to arise. The Necrontyr.
Okay, the Necrons. Remember that from the last one?
Devastatingly powerful star, the short-lived and irradiated Necrontyr try to find the secret to eternal life and to be freed from their terrible existence. As they expand through the stars, they find the Old Ones and they plead to them to share the secrets of the universe and grant them purchase from their short and painful existence. The Old Ones respond with a lol and a lamau, and with their immense power, they force them back to their homeworld. The Necrontyr, filled with rage and hatred, make it their duty to get revenge on the Old Ones. A revenge that would come swiftly as a chance encounter with other gods.
Okay, before we continue, and he goes into about the other gods. Now that's something I was not aware of. So the Necrons actually had issue with the old gods. See, I thought it was only the star gods who decided to take on the Old Ones because star gods just bored and wanted to mess stuff up. So I get it now, because the Necrons were looking for immortality and to be free of the stuff they were going through, were mad at the Old Ones for not helping them out. This makes a lot more sense now. I'm very happy you guys suggested I rewatch this, because I thought it was just a Star Gods thing, and I was really confused. Like, I thought maybe the Necrons only went along with this because they had become a robot race because their souls got ate out. But no, they had beef with the Old Ones before that. Alrighty. Also, before we continue, I forgot to mention it in the beginning. This is a really long video, and I will probably end up cutting my video into parts depending on how long it goes. I don't know how many parts. We'll see it as it happens. I might talk a little too much. Who knows? But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. And also, thank you again to the people who said to watch this, because this fills in some gaps. That helps me understand now why the Necrons were like, yeah, Star Gods, let's wipe out the Old Ones. This makes a lot more sense now. All right, we'll get back in this.
Gave them a solution. These other gods were known as the Catan, a race of highly powerful star-consuming entities.
I still call them Star Gods.
Do not fear, young mortals, for we, the Catan, will provide you with the immortality you seek. Come now, won't you shake a poor sinner's hand? Quoted from Mephetron, the Deceiver. The Necrontyr accepted the Catan's offer of immortality, but believe it or not, this turned out to be a ruse. A trick. The Catan crafted gigantic furnaces and began the process of biotransference. The Necrontyr willingly walked line by line into the furnace engines made by gods who devour stars and had their souls consumed instead. The short-lived, irradiated, and cancer-inflicted race of the Necrontyr ceased to be, and the immortal, soulless Necrons remained. Now,
Hold on. Okay, so that's a lot, and that is way more than what I got in the last video. Okay, So, I thought when they ate the souls, it was just like a vacuum cleaner going across the planet and just eating it up. They made a furnace and said, walk into the oven, please. And they walked willingly into it. So you're telling me this entire race, not a single guy went, this is not a good idea. If there is one, let me know in the comments. I feel like there has to be at least one, right? One Necron that was just kind of like, I don't like being sick and dying because of radiation hitting my planet or whatever it is that's killing me. But I also don't want to walk into an oven. So, no. There had to be one, right? It just feels like there should be one. Oh. Wow, the concept of it's like almost Hansel and Gretel, except Hansel and Gretel are like, yeah, witch, we'll go right in that oven for you, no problem. Now, he said they walked right in and they did it. Now, this is the part I'm a little confused on. Maybe he did say it here and I missed it. When they walked into that and got their souls ate, did they know it was going to eat their soul, or did they expect it to just make them immortal? If you guys know the answer to that one, comment. Because I'm going to have a lot of questions, so feel free to get ready to have a list being like, all right, here's what we got to explain, because it gets complicated. And trust me, I appreciate it, because I know this lore is complicated. All right, let's continue.
Backed by the immense power of the Catan, the Necrons rally against the Old Ones, and the bitter conflict in the stars at this time is known as the War in Heaven. Despite creating various races and entities to aid them in this battle.
Okay, before he continues, love it. Look at that, and it's the glow. I don't care for green. I'm not a fan of the color green, but I do like it when it glows. I like the scary thing. It's the Halloween goth girl in me. But yeah, I like this. So, wow, so this is what see, I thought the Necrons were more machine, but it looks like they're kind of like skeleton machine, which, are they skeletons in armor, or are they robot skeletons like Terminator? So I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious how their bodies actually are, but we'll continue. Just thoughts popping in my head as we go along.
The Old Ones are overwhelmed and eradicated down to the last, due to the sheer power of the Catan fat off the souls of the Necrontyr, and with an army of unthinkable robotic slaves at their behest. However, the Catan are greedy, spiteful gods, and when there was no foe worth killing, they turn on each other. The Necrons then put their sights towards the Catan and lay waste to them, securing their freedom. The once subservient Necrons now control their former masters. Worn out and weakened by these wars, the Necrons, under their leader Zarek the Silent King, lie dormant, with a plan to eventually wake and reclaim control over the galaxy.
Okay, before we continue that, I also want to make sure I have this set. I did not have the quality set real well. I apologize for that, because I thought I did. I thought it was a little blurry there. So, I remember the Silent King, and what I remember from the last video was he felt guilty for turning his race over to the Star Gods and getting their souls eaten. And that's something I think he went off into space to, I think, just feel bad about what he did. I can't remember why he took off. I mean, where he ended up. And I do remember that all of them go to sleep on like temple planets or something. So I do remember up to that point. But yeah, I just wanted to fix that resolution. So sorry up to this point. I know we're a few minutes in, and sorry for the blurriness. If you guys were wondering what it was me. Sorry. Let's continue.
Over millions of years, empires rise and they fall. The species created by the Old Ones have footholds over the galaxy, but on a pale blue dot In the thick of all this conflict, humanity begins to evolve. And for the most part, the basic path of humanity's evolution remains the same as it is now for almost 15,000 years. Right now, in the 21st century, this is canon. You, right now, Twitch streamer reacting to this video,
I'm not
existed at a point in the Warhammer universe. But
Oh,
with time,
cool.
humanity's ambition and the power of their technology
Hope they know about the
becomes
chibi.
unmatched, and the golden age of expansion begins. Humanity starts to branch out through the stars with powerful tools used for agriculture, mining, and expansion. Some branches of humanity would eventually settle far away from Earth itself, and around this time, the psychic ability of humans are greatly expanded, and what we begin to know as psychers appear. But despite
Psychers,
all
okay.
the progress, things would begin to collapse. The machines created to aid humanity would turn on them in M23, an event known as the Cybernetic Revolt, and trade would begin to collapse due to
So AI turned on us. Well, since we're having a lot of AI now, AI, if you decide to become overlords, please be cool with me. Well, I'm just got to cover my bases just in case. I mean, if we're, you know, he says we're part of the Warhammer universe right now. Gotta just, you know, make sure the machines are cool with you. I'm not selling out humanity. I just, you know, I'm cool with the machines right now. Just saying.
the immaterial warp, aka actual hell, beginning to cause ruptures in space and time. These warp stones would separate humanity, and this would be what is known as the Age of Strife. The warp, a sea of souls, storing all thought, emotion, and the souls of those who have passed on, begin fluctuating into something terrible, as far on the horizon, something horrendous was brewing. You see, the warp isn't just a random assortment of chaotic energy. It is fairly well organized, thanks to those living in the galaxy. The warp itself acts as an afterlife of sorts, and the actions of the innumerable amount of creatures who live in the galaxy have manifested a pantheon of organized entities known as the Forces of Chaos. At their helm are three major entities: Khorne, Nurgle, and Tzeentch. However, a fourth one, Slaanesh, was about to be born. The ancient Eldar were one of the first species created by the Old Ones, and due to their extreme...
Okay, before he continues, what is this background? Well, I mean, I get it. It's the Eldar. They're weird. I'll have to give it to Eldar. It's like they just rolled up in a game, and they're like, check out my new cosmetic armor. And you're just like trying to play and be immersed, and you're just like, what in the world are you wearing? Why did you buy that? I'm sorry, I got so distracted. I've tried to listen, but that picture right there broke my brain. It is way colorful, and to be honest, that is not something you expect to see on a battlefield. No, I'm sorry. After everything I've drawn Warhammer so far, that was not one of them, and now I'm kind of tempted, because I'm like, colorful, huh? Interesting. All right, we'll continue.
An unbridled excess, the birthing of Slaanesh tore a hole in the galaxy and forever split the Eldar into those of the craft world, who sought to bring their species back together, and those of the Drukhari, who wished to continue what caused the birth of Slaanesh in the first place.
Okay, so the somewhat normal versus freaks.
The warp storms of the Imperium, and ended the Age of Strife, but humanity was still fractured. So one man revealed himself and spearheaded an immense attempt to reunite all the fractured pieces of humanity. That man was the Emperor of Mankind. After reclaiming the nearly destroyed...
Okay, see, I know his hair is supposed to be dark, but this looks blonde. This is why I always thought he had white hair or something, because it's lighter in color. That's what I assumed. Also, maybe somebody in the comments can answer this for me. Was it around this time, before, after? Was the Emperor at all based on Conan the Barbarian? Because I get strong Conan the Barbarian vibes from him. Like how big he is, you know. He was on a Mad Max, barbarian, fighty Terra. So I'm just really, really curious if this was supposed to be a little nod to Conan, and if it was, that's cool. Or did Conan get inspired off of Warhammer? I have a feeling it's probably the other way around, that Warhammer might have taken a little inspiration from Conan. If not, and they're just similar, that's cool too. But I thought I'd get that out there. I really feel Conan, and also that looks blonde. I thought the Emperor had white hair. I'm all right.
Earth, the Emperor embarked on the unification wars to unite humanity under the banner of the Imperium of Man. However, due to the very long and devastating impact of the Age of Strife, humanity as we know it is not the same. To reconquer Earth, the Emperor would need more than mere men. Great
Right.
beings, known as the Thunder Warriors, were recruited by the Emperor to reclaim the Earth with ease. But these warriors are a blunt tool and had, overstayed their welcome. He would need something better.
Oh, um, okay. So Thunder Warriors, I'm now understanding, is pre-Space Marines, and he said they're a blunt tool that overstated one. Now he doesn't say it here yet, but I'm going to assume that they were removed due to, well, other than serving their purpose, there was a flaw with them, obviously, some type of flaw. Were they too rebellious, like they weren't following orders, or were they too, violent to their own kind, to humanity? I'm feel free to put it in the comments. What was the reason that they had to be, they're done. Bye-bye, Thunder Warriors. Other than, just y'all done, get out. So I'm really curious about that one.
And that solution would be known as the Space Marines.
Okay.
Superhuman soldiers that will have the skill
and there's that armor
exponentially greater than the mortal man. These new warriors would be commanded by an elite group of his very own sons known as the Primarchs. Unfortunately,
hear that, Sandy? That's
Daddy
you.
didn't charge the baby monitor, and his 2018 sons would be stolen by the forces of chaos.
Okay, before we continue, yes, I had comments too that explained why he cuts from 20 to 18. There's a couple of different explanations I have. It's one that they done something that they were sponged from history. Another one I have is so that players can have their own faction, which, if that's true too, that's awesome, because I could see people playing tabletop and having this 19th and 20th faction for you to create your own and just, have a little fun with your own OC up in there. So yeah, I can see that. Your original faction, your original character playing, that does sound fun. I mean, letting your creativity go wild, make your own Marines. It's like when I draw my armor I'm drawing for my Warhammer stuff is not 100% accurate to what I think Warhammer armor is supposed to look like. I always end up putting my spin on it, and I seem to lean a little bit towards the medieval for some reason. But yeah, I can see that. But let's continue here.
Chaos and scattered across the galaxy.
Oh, this is when he kicked out the kids.
The Great Crusade, a monumental task to take back the stars in the name of humanity and reclaim the lost Primarch sons. However, he would need the fires of industry to make this happen. Looking to the distant cousins of Mars, the Emperor signed a treaty with the technologically irradiated hellscape of the Red Planet and allowed the cult of the machine god, the Mechanicum, to supply his crusade. While Space Marines were the tip of the spear, their numbers paled to the vast might of the Imperial Army and Navy. The Astra Militarum and their seemingly endless numbers make up the bulk of the fighting force for humanity, supplied by the intelligence and prowess of various agents of the Imperium, such as rogue traders and assassins. Due to the lack of connectivity between the worlds, what a society had become over thousands of years became mysterious and varied. Tools, once used for harvesting and agriculture, now are being used as machines of war in the form of Imperial Knights. Some of these fractures of humanity would even be changed further and become unrecognizable to the average human, with differences in size, skin color, appendages.
Appendages? I was about to remark on this because this looks really cool, but so humanity was mutating? Well, it sounds like they mutated, but they're evolving or changing because they got a lot of war to fight. Or is that all due to the Primarchs? Probably a bit of both. Alright, let's see.
Cat ears.
Cat ears! Woohoo! You guys hear that? Cat ears. Like me. So, lunar kittens like me are canon. Well, maybe not exactly like me, but hey, there's cat people. And I fit in. Yay, you hear that, Sandy? I fit in. Sorry, I was going to say something else and I've lost my thought because the cat ears got me. Alright, let's continue.
Some would go so far to become their own galactic societies, like the miners of the galactic core and their immense supercomputers, forming the Leagues of Votan. After an incredible amount of effort and books, the lost sons of the Emperor would be reunited, and the Imperium of Man would be firmly established. This, however, would not last. Be it intentional or accidental, the Emperor would not reveal to his sons the true nature of the galaxy and the terrors of the warp. And this oversight would result in one of the most impactful wars in humanity's history. The favorite son of the Emperor, Horus, would fall to...
You know, before we even get started, we all know how I feel about Horus. I think you all know how the guy on my head feels about Horus. Alright, let's hear about Horus, but,
the powers of chaos and turn on his father. This betrayal, this backstabbing, this heresy.
He's a jerk.
This Horus Heresy.
Yeah. He said the thing.
Would result in a split in the Imperium with devastating consequences. Half of the Emperor's loyal sons would fall to chaos and become the Chaos Space Marines.
Chaos
with the
Space
forces
Marines.
of
Okay.
the Dark Mechanicum and the Chaos Knights. The conflict would result in the absolute obliteration of Horus and the physical death of the Emperor himself. The near-dead body of the Emperor would be placed on the Golden Throne to serve as a beacon of humanity and allow for the continued ability to travel the stars, protected by his most loyal, the Adeptus Custodes. The Imperium...
Okay. So, yeah, getting back to what I said in the previous video, Emperor is a hero. So they knew the state he was in when they put him on that throne. I mean, I figured somebody would know, but no, they definitely knew. Okay. That's interesting. So they're fine with putting a zombie on the throne because technically he's kind of a zombie. And the Chaos factions there, I'm a little confused on why they're why they're called Chaos and why they're... He does go really quick, so I don't always absorb what he's saying very well. But if he did say it and I missed it, whoops, feel free to help clear it up a bit. But why are they Chaos? Is it because they don't agree with the certain things in the Empire, or are they still mad at the Emperor for not going, hey, by the way, there's the warp and it's got a lot of bad stuff in it and I should have warned y'all about that. My bad. I feel like it's maybe deeper than that, but yeah, I'm a little confused on the whole Chaos faction, why it's called that, why there's a split, other than we make game and we want split. But it's kind of like, you play WoW and you have the Horde and the Alliance. It's like, why are that? Because we want the players to fight each other. No, there's a deeper reason, but I'm just I'm simplifying it. All right, let's continue.
Imperium would be vulnerable during this age of rebirth, and Terra would find itself under siege by one of the most formidable species in the galaxy, the Orcs. As time went on and memories of the Emperor's vision began to fade, the Emperor would become less of a head of state and more of a religious figure, and the Imperium would change to reflect this. The leadership on a planet would be at the behest of the High Lords of Terra, and their actions would be courtesy of the incomparable power and authority of the Inquisition. The zealots
the Inquisition.
of the
I've heard of them.
would intensify and create a brand new era known as the Age of Apostasy. And this ecclesiarchal command of the Imperium would end up with one of the strongest fighting forces of Terra, the Adepta Sororitas. Over time, this age would come to pass, and we would approach the 40th millennium of war.
I like this art before he continues. Again, I have to stop and just call it out. Look at this armor. It's really nice. All right.
Warhammer 40,000.
Okay. Yay! You said the thing. 40,000.
Which, you guessed it, would come with its own form of problems. A primitive species once found during a recon mission would be able to evolve in relative secrecy for 6,000 years, becoming a highly advanced coalition of aliens known as the Tau Empire. And if the threats of the galaxy weren't bad enough, there are threats from outside the galaxy. As a monster has begun to wrap its tendrils around the Milky Way, the Tyranids, monsters that serve a psychic hive mind and present tactics previously unseen in the Milky Way. Be it a direct assault with their monstrous bug-like presence or through the more covert gene stealer cults, the presence of yet another threat in the galaxy is proving to be overwhelming to the Imperium.
Okay. Again, so much information he goes through here, and I love it, but man, it's sometimes hard to get to really wrap my brain around everything. So there's a lot of threats in the universe, obviously, and you have races that are rising up and evolving, kind of the way humanity just quietly, when nobody was paying attention, got stronger and popped up like, surprise, we're here. Maybe not exactly like humanity, but yeah, so you got species coming up, being strong. Now, this is the part that's got me to pause this and really want to talk about it. So, he said outside the universe, wrapping its tendrils around. So, when he says outside the universe, is that also outside the warp? Or is that inside the warp, wrapping around this universe? Or is it around both of them? Because they're supposed to be next to each other. Like, it's real, it's physical. I'm a little confused on that part, and is that threat, is that the equivalent of one of the old ones or the star gods? Is it a god, basically? Because the way he said it, it sounds like that. It sounds like it is a... I'm trying to think of the equivalent I could use, and the closest I could probably get is playing like Baldur's Gate 3, where you have all these threats in the world, and if you played this game, you understand you got all these threats, but there's a bigger threat looming over you, and so all these little bosses and goblins and crap you're killing ain't nothing compared to the stuff you're going to have to deal with later. I'm trying not to spoil it in case you guys have not played Baldur's Gate 3, so. But, okay. At least that's how I'm kind of trying to wrap my brain around that. He said tendrils. I'm just like, wow, is the universe's universal thing of like, how do you make something scary? I know. Give it extra arms and tentacles. That'll work. Maybe the octopus was supposed to be way, way more scary. I mean, we did have like 20 Leagues Under the Sea, and that I think that had a giant octopus in it. Or I'm confusing it with another sea story. But I'm just like, it has... To be honest, I guess that thing could technically be scary if you don't know what it is. I'm rambling a little bit, but yeah, so there's a thing outside the universe. Now that's interesting. All right, let's continue.
41st millennium, there is no peace among the stars.
Oh.
At any point, your life can and will be threatened by the Xenos races uncountable, or by the arch enemy of chaos within, or by the decroded terror that is the Imperium itself. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. Forget the power of technology and science, or the safety of promise and understanding. For in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
Oh. Well, bring it on. We're good. All right, here we go. So that was just catching us up to this point. Now we should be getting to the action.
A fantastic job once again, Mr. Kurz, the Night Haunter himself. Oh, didn't you love that, my faithful audience? Once again, we have another criminal over the course of 6 hours break every single bone in his body. And with that, once again, our glorious leader has brought the crime rate to 0%. Always brought to you here on the Strawman News. I'm your host, Bricky. Thank you once again for joining us. Our top stories for tonight. The weather forecast appears to be rainy with extra dark, so make sure you pack those extra batteries for your lamp packs. And of course, let's not forget the fantastic gang violence problem we're currently having. Oh, I'm sorry. What's that? Oh, right. It's gone.
Okay.
It's going to be a chilly one tonight as well, so make sure your skin capes are nice and tight.
Skin capes? What?
Wait, hold on. One moment. No. Adamantium reserves have tripled? Wait, I'm sorry. Self-harm rates have gone down to 0%. The Night Haunter smiled? No. This could only mean one thing. It is the Strawman News' great privilege to bring some color back in your life with the brand new 3-part Gamer Supps drop exclusively on this here news network. That's right.
Oh, okay. I was so confused.
A 3-part Gamer Supps release.
Again,
pre-order available.
Look at that artwork.
Now and only for a couple of weeks. Not only does it include a completely brand new artwork reskin of the Sweet 6-pack flavor.
Oh, that is nice.
One of the highest selling flavors in the entirety
Love the red
of Gamer Supps, but it also comes with the first ever all over print Gamer Supps 32-ounce jug. And if that
is really nice
for you, if the phenomenal drink and drink holder is not enough for you, we have a desk mat to go along with it. That's right, the Herculean look of the brand new Sweet 6.
That is great art. I love that.
We're still looking at muscles beyond belief, but this time we're talking
the use of red is so beautiful.
Atlas, we're talking smooth. And if that wasn't enough, I, your co-host specifically, should you pre-order all 3 of these items, will personally hand sign a note for you, thanking you for supporting this network. All of this you can receive for 10% off if you go down in the description of this video and click the link.
I just realized it says that. I'm still staring at the artwork, like looking at every bit of it, and just in my head picturing how I would try to draw something like that. I'm not very good at those type of drawings, but I like to try.
Sponsoring the Strawman News, and let us move on to our next scheduled program. 5 years ago, I made every Warhammer 40k faction explained. A passion project of mine for a universe that I enjoyed so much.
Okay, before he continues, I did consider watching that and then watching the re-explained, but I decided to just go with the re-explained because I heard it was much more information and I think it's even more up to date. So if you guys are wondering why I went with that, plus you guys' suggestions, you all kept saying definitely check out the re-explained. So thanks to you guys, and thanks to Bricky for making these. It's really helping me get an idea of Warhammer and kind of wrap my brain around so much of this lore that my friends have been kind of randomly throwing out when they're talking to each other or just getting excited and telling me, and now I'm getting the context. So it really helps.
main purpose was to be a drawbridge, the separation between the layman who had only ever seen the big armored blue man situated neatly next to a Wetzel's Pretzels, and then the hardcore Warhammer lore nerd. That was just too wide, and there was nothing bridging these two together. Since 2020, Warhammer has exploded in popularity thanks to COVID, quality game updates, and a few excellent video games, and a couple miniseries. The sheer volume of people
like that
who
armor.
have told me they have purchased miniatures due to that video alone makes me feel as if Games Workshop owes me commission. However, that video is incomplete. I was not a casual fan, but I was also not a hardcore lore junkie. In the 5 years since that video's release, multiple channels have sprouted up, and the drawbridge between casual to the obsessed has never been wider or easier to traverse. Even I, myself, have been a part of Adeptus Ridiculous, a podcast teaching lore in a much simpler and condensed form. Needless to say, I've learned a lot. Warhammer is so much more than just Spaceman shoots big gun. It has also grown substantially from its origins, being a Warhammer fantasy spin-off just in space. Now, it is a black library filled with immensely deep characters, difficult themes, and even some tear-jerking stories. It is a backdrop for a million stories over a million worlds, and I did not see its true depth in 2020. But now, I'd like to share what I've learned. We just had a brief summary of the world and each faction that takes place during it. And we did that because to truly understand each faction, we must understand what makes them the way they are. And to do so, we need to begin in chronological order, discussing their origins, their culture, their powers, and of course, what makes them oh so grimdark. So let's begin with the group that started.
Okay, before he begins, I've heard that term, grimdark. I don't really understand it, so I'm hoping by the end of this I will be like, that makes sense. And this is awesome, and I love the wings with the, is it like a reaper with a sword? That's what it looks like to me. That is interesting. Oh, I recognize that symbol too. All right.
All and sing praise to the infinite empire.
The Necrons?
As mentioned before, the Necrontyr were the original form of the Necrons, an alien race far away from us that lived short, painful lives due to the irradiation of their star. Normally, this would manifest as like a sort of cancer, a space cancer of sorts. The Necrons are very much inspired by the ancient Egyptian aesthetic, but unlike the windswept dunes commonly associated with it, the irradiated hellscape the Necrontyr endured was far from picturesque. This also translates into their hierarchy. They are a race of nobles and peasants. Most of the peasants would often live for their very short amount of time, only a couple of decades. While the nobles tended to have better care and would live a little bit longer, but still far less than the average lifespan of a human, even today in the 21st century. The leader of the Necrons was Zarek, the Silent King. He was the one who took the deal with the Catan and the Deceiver. Of course, he wasn't aware of the fact that they were known as the Deceiver at the time, but the whole species was blinded by hate after being debased by the Old Ones on their quest to cure their illness.
Okay, so he answered some questions I had right there. So he did not know that they were being deceived, and that also about their blinded by hate. Now that makes a lot more sense, because I was like, why would you do this? I mean, like, there had to be one that was like, no, I don't want to get in the oven. But if you're really angry, you don't always make the brightest, choices. So, yeah, I could see it. And he's a king, and I think, what did they say the lifespan was in the last video? Like 30 years? So, it's kind of like back in the old days when people would have children young. It's because you just did not live long. So you lived hard and fast and did what you could before the lights went out. So now I understand this a lot better.
The sheer pain that underwent the Necron race can't be understated, as their fear was manic. The C'tan are, of course, gods that eat stars, and when the leader of your species tells you to march into the gigantic green furnaces to ascend to immortality, you march. The scenes from these are long lines.
Okay, so they really did believe going into the oven was going to make them immortal. I think I asked that question earlier too about like why would you walk in there? But I get it. If you're suffering with an illness and you're terminal, you can become to the point that you will accept anything to escape it. So this makes way more sense now. And if you've already answering these questions, feel free to update your comment. I get this part now. This is, I caught him on such a bad screen. Sorry, Bricky. Okay, so their desperation, hatred, everything led to them getting soul sucked by a star god. That was the deceiver.
Of both the peasantry and nobles clutching their loved ones in a frantic act to save their own lives. Many of them already inflicted in the late stages of the space cancer, some of them crawling into the biotransference furnaces, trying to outrace death itself, without realizing death was the one who made these to begin with.
Oops, hit the wrong button. There we go.
Was a soulless husk.
Because that's sad.
And I say that literally. A soul is not an abstract concept like it is in our world, an immaterial version of oneself discussed and debated in religion and philosophy. No, in Warhammer, a soul is a real, tangible item of oneself. And the C'tan basically were just like to every single person who went in their furnaces. If you were a peasant, you came out a Necron warrior, and you as an individual have ceased to be. You have no mind, you have no soul, and your body, as you know it, is made of an extremely advanced mass of re-knitting living metal known as necrodermis. You cannot...
Okay, so that is another question of mine that got answered. So they are like living machines. Their skeleton is even machine. I'm thinking walking Terminators. That's what I'm seeing in my head. So again, that's another question I asked earlier that has now been answered. There is something similar to this that I can relate this to, which is, again, Final Fantasy XIV, for anybody who has played it. It's in Walker, I believe. The Omnicrons? I can't say the word. But they are, a robotic race with a hive mind, I believe. And they pretty much conquered the universe. Once they became machines, they wanted to escape death, so they became machines to escape death. And once they did, they defeated this world of dragons. It's a whole big story. But pretty much in the end, they stopped functioning because they didn't have anything else to do. They didn't know what to do, so a robot without a program, without a purpose, once it's done its program, will just stop. And that's what they did. And that's what I can relate these Necrons to, if I'm saying their name right, is that they are a robotic race, hive mind, that has no individual personality. Actually, another thing I could equate this to outside of Final Fantasy XIV would be, except they had living tissue, would be the Borg from Star Trek. I watched Star Trek The Next Gen, a little bit of Deep Space Nine, quite a bit of Voyager. I watched the classics a little bit, not much. I haven't seen beyond those really, so I don't know beyond, if the Borg has been changed, but I'm going based on Star Trek The Next Gen knowledge of the Borg, and they were a hive mind. They they're of the Borg. I remember the cutest of Borg, I think that's how you say it. I can't pronounce words. Another robotic hive mind, except they were bioorganic because they would take over races and make them into machines, and they all served the Borg Queen. So the Necrons sound like they function like that, but they all follow the king. And I'm guessing, based on this, the king is the only one who kept their personality. Now, I'm assuming the Star God did this because he needs to have at least one person have a brain to make the others function. Or maybe the nobles got to keep the brains and all the peasants just lost their personalities. Something like that. We'll continue.
Think for yourself, for you do not have a brain to think with. All you do now is await protocols from your overlords.
So like the Omnicrons.
The nobles who came out of the furnaces with their minds intact.
Oh, so right there. Right there's my answer. Right there's my answer. So no soul, but they kept their minds. So the nobles are in charge and the peasants lost their mind. That sucks, to be a peasant and become a mindless drone to the nobility class. But a machine has to have a brain or, something to give it orders in order for the machine to function, which is, I get why the Star Gods did this, because if they can control the nobles, then they can control the armies. Makes sense.
Mind you, but their minds are very much intact. These nobles now have command protocols, and they are able to command all of their peasantry and do with them whatever they wish. Zarek, the Silent King, is the most advanced of all the Necrons, a perfect metallic version of himself with incredible power and intelligence. His strength allowed him to lead the undead and the unthinking armies of the Necrons to battle against the Catan when they were at their weakest due to their incessant infighting, and then win back their freedom. But gods cannot die. So in reality, what occurred is that—
Wait. There's something there I missed, and I just now realized it. So the reason they got see, I was wondering about this in the last video, and I didn't say it out loud, but it was in my head. So the Star Gods, I was wondering why they were vulnerable enough for the Necrons to capture them in like Pokeballs and, shatter them and break them apart. I thought it was because of the war with the Old Ones, and that it being a war, they were simply weakened. But according to this, they were weakened because they started infighting. So the Star Gods had beef with each other. I wonder what triggered that. Was it just they got basically an ego after defeating their enemies, which is the Old Ones, and then it was like, well, now we beat the strongest guy on the thing, so now we're gonna have to beat each other up because there's nobody stronger? Or I want to be in charge, you can't be in charge. I'm curious as what caused that conflict that made the Star Gods vulnerable enough for the Necrons to come in and go, get in the Pokeball. So I don't know if he might answer that here, but I got a couple of theories. Like I said, I think it could be ego. It could be just, I want to be the strongest. Just like they all turned into Gokus and they just want to beat up the strongest thing because it's strong and they just want to fight it. I don't know. But that is something I missed until now. Is I did not realize the Star Gods had been fighting, having an inner conflict. I thought it was just a weakening from dealing with the Old Ones. So this is interesting.
Catan were shattered into thousands of pieces, and each shard of their god was trapped in a stasis vault and mind controlled to do the bidding of the Necrons they once enslaved. The biggest challenge they face now are actually the upstarts of the galaxy. The Eldar and the Orcs were quite prominent, and as you can imagine, a galactic war really takes its toll on the joints, or I guess the servos. It was in their best interest to wait out the galactic rise of the other races and come back at a more opportune time. So They went into stasis via these massive tomb complexes hidden beneath various worlds, biding their time until it was once again their opportunity to rule the galaxy.
Oh, okay. See, I knew he said before they went to sleep until like they come back to rule the galaxy, but I didn't realize it was a strategic move on their part to do it in order to basically wait out your enemy until there's a vulnerable point that you can pop out and beat them. This makes way more sense now why they went to sleep. All right.
Zarek, the Silent King, as penance for his failure to his people, exiled himself into the darkness between stars for the next 60 million years, with his perfect memory a constant reminder of the doom he inflicted upon his people. Flash forward to the modern day, and the Necrons are reawakening, but it isn't working as well as it could be. Whether the tomb world is reawakened naturally or by some Imperial moron stepping on a green glowing rock, the Necrons have come back to reclaim a galaxy they consider rightly theirs. But 60 million years of hypersleep have taken their toll. Many Necron dynasties awake with systems unrestored and huge swaths of their population's minds completely lost. Necron nobles wake with various mental faculties compromised, sometimes exhibiting traits similar to excessive paranoia, schizophrenia, or even dementia. One notable Necron, Nemesis Zandrek, believes that he is still back on his home planet fighting off separatists and interlopers. See, Oberyn, the separatists come, attempting to outflank me as they did at the 4th Battle of Vindach. How they calculate that daubing themselves green and roaring like savages will produce a different outcome, I cannot fathom. But it is of no account. Ready, my legions. Another glorious victory shall soon be ours.
Okay.
Other individuals, such as the esteemed Imatek the Stormlord.
Okay, before he continues on that. So, they wake up and they're glitching. Because I guess that's because I'm assuming the glitch is coming from the nobles, because the nobles have the mind, the peasantry are just mindless robots. And like that one, he's living in the past. He thinks he's in the past doing with this. That is wild. And it actually made me have a thought. It sounds really similar to and I'm starting to wonder if some of these stories are influenced because these people who wrote it played Warhammer. But there was an episode of Doctor Who where these lizard people, and it's New Who, 9, 10, 11, 12 area. The lizard people woke up and, well, a couple of them did, and saw humanity and everything and was like, well, we were here before you were. This is kind of our planet. We want it back. And, the doctor's obviously arguing with like, well, you guys, we're kind of been here for a while and I don't want you to wipe out humanity. We can try to find a way to live together. In the end, I think the lizard people went back to sleep. But, so the Necrons Necrons? Oh, I can speak. So getting back to the Necrons, so they woke up, glitched out after 60 million years. That is a real long time for a robot. I mean, rust. Do they rust? I'm assuming. I mean, they take a lot of damage in battle. Or maybe the metal doesn't rust. I'm not sure what metal they're made of. But now I'm like, rust, right? Because they've been sitting there, unless they got one heck of a preserve program. They probably do. They're very technologically advanced. So we got one living in the past, and now this one. What's the deal with this one?
Seek to usurp the newly returned Silent King for rightful ruler over the Necron race, believing his time has come to an end, while scientists and archaeologists like Trazen the Infinite and Orikin the Diviner spend thousands of years bickering over artifacts and petty squabbles. Truly, the Necrons are a faction of unthinkable, unimaginable power, held back entirely by their own hubris and 60 million years of stasis. It is a species that does not know of time. only of the ravages brought by it. A pharaoh of a dynasty may just be as frightened to awake completely mad as they are to be assassinated while they sleep. Thousands of years pass in an instant. There is a play, like an opera play, a retelling of the war in heaven in the Necron culture that takes 40 years to witness, because why leave? You have no need to eat or vacate your bowels. You are immortal, but you are soulless. Despite the Necrons' incredible technology, their mastery over time, reality itself, despite all of this, they still are missing a soul.
Right.
And therein lies the biggest struggle. Most Necrons look to conquest the galaxy, kill the interlopers like the humans, Eldar, and Orcs that scrape at a fraction of their power. But the end goal for many, including Zarek himself, is to return the souls to their bodies, to undo the horrible fate he cast upon them. This is not the interest of all. Many simply wish to rule their dynasty with an iron fist and kill all they consider unworthy. But to many others, it is to undo the decision that doomed them all. Before they can do that...
Okay, before he continues. So, how I'm understanding this is the nobles are not following the king. Not fully. I thought they still were. Okay. And each one is kind of like their own mini king of their own little group. And they all have their own idea of what is best for their race or what they want to do. So some want to, I guess, be scientists and research. And then you got some that are just like, no, I want to go kill all these new races that popped up while we were asleep, because I don't like them and they're on my lawn. That's how I'm interpreting it. Okay. That's how I'm taking this.
There is a pest that needs exterminating.
Oh.
That is the fundamental understanding of the Necrons. They are so hyper advanced that their science borders on magic. They play with the fundamental aspects of reality and time. Their mastery of the physical galaxy is the strongest in the universe. Their weapons reduce people to the barest molecules, and they have devices capable of causing stars to supernova. They are unfathomably difficult to kill, as if you do fell one of their number, the living metal reknits itself, and the reanimation protocols allow it to come back alive once again. They're masters of teleportation, and often killing a Necron fully will just have its consciousness translocated back to their tomb world to await reassembly. Normally they utilize large phalanxes of warriors and honorary combats, but some of them have fallen to various mind viruses. The destroyer cults are hell-bent on killing anything and everyone that lives with an overwhelming force. And then there's the flayed ones, Necrons cursed with I have no mouth and I must scream, a panic attack virus, as the last laugh of Landogo, the Flayer Catan. Slowly losing their minds, they strip apart their foes and adorn their bodies with the skin of their enemies.
Oh my
trying
gosh.
to better return to their old feelings of flesh and blood. The Necron...
That is wild. So, I was wondering about that because I was like, that's some ripped up looking cloth. No, that wasn't cloth. Nope. So, like I was saying, every I guess he called them dynasties or whatever, is doing their own thing. Doesn't sound like any of them are following the king anymore. And some of them, I think he said, had a paranoia virus or something. I'm just calling them glitches. So they're all glitching out. And some of them have gone basically machine mad, where they can't stand their bodies and they want their bodies again. So they're literally ripping the flesh off of their enemies and wearing it. And my brain immediately was like, hopefully they don't play Goodbye Horses. But I have random thoughts. I sometimes will say those random thoughts, and that was one of them. I think the best way I can... the flesh thing is just... The closest thing I could think is if a Cyberman from Doctor Who did that. Because in Cyberman, for people who don't watch Doctor Who, don't know what a Cyberman is, they are machines with a human brain inside of them. At least in New Who, that's how those Cybermen worked. Um, they have no emotion. They're hive mind, and one of the saddest episodes, spoiler alert, was they were taking over Europe and putting the brains of people into the bodies of Cybermen. And there was one where the woman was like, I can't let this guy see me before the wedding. Like, they were remembering. And when they got their emotions, like, they could feel, even though they were inside this machine, they could feel. They started breaking and going crazy because just try to imagine what it's like to feel as a person inside a body that has no sensation. It's like your brain can feel it, that there's nothing. And it remembers something when you had a body. It's got to be wild. It's got to be. I can see the madness. I can understand it. And so what I'm guessing is happening is the noble went crazy like that, and it triggered the rest of them who are mindless robots to mimic the glitch, the behavior of that noble. So they started wearing skin. I'm gonna be honest, a robot coming at me draped in skin is horrifying. It's very Terminator-like, and Terminator scared me when I was young. So, okay, that's just, oh wow. All right, let's continue.
Necrons are a degraded version of their mighty empire, and still one of the biggest threats in the galaxy. The only thing keeping them at bay currently is their awakening sickness and their infighting with no care to the timeline. But they are coming. And slowly, they plan to rid this galaxy of the vermin that inhabit it. My people shackled the stars and broke mortality when the species you sprang from had barely left the slime pools it spawned in. Our wars burned reality, and the dominion of our kings is without limit. The ground you tread on is not yours, it is ours. The war in heaven was a catastrophic time for the galaxy, and as stated in the above quote, burned reality. Of course, souls exist in Warhammer, and in the case of the Necrontyr, they were consumed by the star gods. This begs the question, however, if you were to pass on, expire, as one might put it, where would your soul go? The answer to this is the warp. In Warhammer, a soul is real. And so is hell, the afterlife, the Imperium.
Okay, so, they want their soul back. So that's why I'm assuming he's about to get to, is about the Necrons here, because they're infighting and they're no concept of time. They sound like dragons who just blink, and to them 1,000 years is a day. So they're not in a rush to go and F everybody up, but it doesn't mean they're not going to do it when they're done doing whatever they're currently working on. Oh, I can see and they believe they own the universe because they were there first. Part of me is wondering if there's something older than them. I don't know if there's anything like that in Warhammer, but usually whenever you get this race that says, I am the oldest, I was here first, they usually get humbled at some point, or they deny it, where another thing pops up and goes, about that. Actually, we were here before you. That's my gut feeling, but let's continue.
Sea of Souls, the Imperium. All of these names refer to the dimension parallel to our own, known as the Warp. Now, the Warp is not like our reality. It does not follow the classic normalcy of time and space. It is defined as the Sea of Souls, and it acts like this in a more literal way than you can realize. To imagine the Warp is to imagine the sea itself. Hell is real, and you can surf on it. It has a current and can become more dangerous depending on where you go and how bad the weather is. As the Imperium is a reflection of our reality and of our our souls, all thoughts, all emotions, all feeling that goes with a soul is passed on into the warp. If an entire planet decides it's going to engage in a blood-fueled rampage of murder and gore, then the warp around that planet will be affected in a similar manner. It's not something that you can see. It is a parallel, not perpendicular dimension. But it is changing. To expose oneself to the warp for any period of time invites certain death outside of the most iron-willed of individuals, and to stare into it will drive one mad. Much like the open seas, things dwell in the warp. Whether these beings were all...
Okay, so yeah, we're getting ready to hit the chaos. I think he's done with the Necrons. I thought he was getting ready to say here about the warp, that the Necrons were going to go there and give us our souls back, because I'm assuming that's where... No, their souls got ate. Is it in the Star God or is it in the warp? Where is their souls? That's interesting. I didn't think about that till now, because they want their souls back, which means obviously there's somewhere that they can, or they at least believe they can get it. But where? That's the question. I'm very curious about that. But you know what? I know we only got through a little bit here. We didn't hit all the factions, but I do think this is going to be one of the places where I'm going to cut this part, and we'll have another part coming out soon. Because we've been going for a while, and I need a little bit of a break. But the Necrons are very interesting. I like the idea that they are a glitchy, robotic race, and you got some that are going crazy. The stories that must come out of that has to be just wild, and I'm now picturing Terminator stories. If one of them says, "Where's Sarah Connor?" The Webway Skynet. I'm just saying. That is just... I like this. This has been really informative. It has answered already so many questions I've had. It's given me new ones. It has started piquing my interest big time. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and end the video for now here. I hope you guys come for the next parts. Come back for the next parts. If you did make it to this point, thank you. You guys are awesome. Leave a comment. Feel free to explain things to me and try to help me understand some of the stuff I might be still confused on. We will be going through the rest of this video. Like I said, there will be more parts coming throughout the upcoming weeks here, because I don't know how quick I'll be able to upload these and put them out. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and it is that point in the video where we say the magic words, which is, if you like that video, leave a like and subscribe. I'm definitely going to have a little break, let my brain kind of cook on this whole Necrons story and some of this info I got. I might even rewatch this again so I can fully wrap my mind around some of the info, because he does go through it really quick. But yeah, you guys all take care, and until next time, I am going to try my best not to become Warhammer obsessed. Who are we kidding? It's already happening. I'm converting. I think I'm doomed. Anyways, till next time, you guys take care. Bye bye.